You are watching the New American Media. Hello, America. Hello, and happy Friday. This is Friday, August 3rd, 2012. This is the newamericanmedia.com. I'm your host, Brian Engelman. Welcome back to the Unhappy Hour, where we talk about sports. The good, the bad, the ups, the downs. We like to say that we are the only Cleveland-centric, Los Angeles-based sports show that we are currently aware of, and we mean it. That's actually pretty good. I'd like to hear somebody with a great radio voice speak that all serious. That would be a lot of fun. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We have been expanding our coverage on the Unhappy Hour. There's just so much going on in sports right now. Unfortunately, as a Cleveland Indians fan, not too much going on worth talking about there. I mean, what a collapse. We can get to that later. We're going to be speaking with DZ. He's going to join our program. Dan Zaleski, Cleveland Sports Radio. Yeah, Dan has a few ideas about that. We're also going to talk with Zak Baris. Zak is a lifelong Cleveland sports fan and NBA scout. He always has interesting comments, really good NBA coverage and Team USA coverage. Did you see the game yesterday against Nigeria where we blew them out by, what was it, 80 points? 83 points? And some people are saying that they tried too hard. And then other people in badminton are getting disqualified because they didn't try hard enough. Wow. It's a great segue for a nice chat on capitalism. The collective versus the individual. The new Cleveland Browns owner came out today and said, I hire people as interns. I bring people into my program as interns, but one of the requirements is they have to be they have to have competed in high school athletics because he loves competition, and I like that. I really like that. So we'll talk to DZ, founder of the Cleveland Sports Fan Radio and CSF Radio. He'll be on to talk with us along with Zak Baris, NBA scout. And there's so many different directions we can take this. I'm going to kind of just crack the door wide open and see what happens. We're going to bring Zak into the program without any further delay. We got two Z's on the show, Zak Baris and Dan Zaleski. We'll start with Zak.
Hello?
Zak, it's Brian with the newamericanmedia.com. You are live on the air, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Living the dream, Zak. There's been a lot going on. We haven't talked with you in a while. I always explain to people you're a lifelong Cleveland sports fan. You're an NBA scout. And is there anything else you want to kind of... Because there are a lot of people that regularly check in to hear what you have to say about things. Is there anything else that you think the listeners don't know about you that maybe, I don't know, they'd get a kick out of knowing?
Well, right now there's not that much to tell right now.
Well, that's fair enough. The Olympics are moving on right now, and there's really not too much to talk about there. Oh, I don't know except about an 80-plus point blowout. I guess we could start it there. Was that excessive, or is that competition at its finest?
I mean, I think it's excessive, but I mean, the thing is, they're not going to stop playing it. It's the differences in an NBA game. The talent, your bench is usually not going to be made up of, NBA superstars. it doesn't matter. When you're at the Olympics, you're talking about the best players in the world, and the best players from the U.S.A. playing. So it's like if you pull LeBron out, you're putting in Carmelo Anthony, another NBA All-Star, and as long as they're trying, they're going to keep scoring points. I mean, I just think it's absurd how you can beat a team by 83 points. There are games in the NBA where teams don't even score 83.
I don't know how you could accidentally do that. Like that would be hard to intentionally do. I think it would be hard to lose by 80.
I think they shot like 80% from the field. I don't even remember the final numbers. It was just they shot like over 80% from 3-point land.
Man. Yeah, I mean that dunk by Westbrook, and you got Love out there knocking down the threes, which he can do, but I mean and they didn't even really play Kobe or LeBron, sitting on the bench a lot of the second half. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, Nigeria, I knew Nigeria wasn't going to be very good, but I remember someone last week telling me they're like, Nigeria, they've got some talent. They could challenge U.S. I was like, not a chance. I was like, not a chance. And I remember when somebody was like, they've got Alfaro Camino, and I was like, they're not going to challenge them. Granted, I wasn't expecting an 83-point blowout. I was expecting maybe 30, 40 points. Definitely not 83, but I mean, it's just shocking how badly they won.
It was pretty intense. I mean, now here's the question: how does it work? Because some people are saying, well, Nigeria shouldn't have even been allowed to play. Did they qualify to be there? How does that process work?
I don't exactly know. I mean,
I don't either.
I don't know. FIBA rules are so confusing. Like I said, I tend to stick to American basketball. It's what I'm good at, and it's what I focus on. I tend not to focus on the European game at all. Because like I said, it's just because the players are so good in Europe, his game doesn't translate to the United States. I don't like FIBA rules. I don't like anything about FIBA basketball for the most part, other than watching Team USA. That's it. I don't like the way fouls are called. I really don't like that much about the game, and that's why I choose not to pay attention to most of it. But like I said, when the Olympics roll around, when Team USA is playing, I pay attention. And I don't exactly know the whole situation with Nigeria, and I don't want to give a false answer. So I honestly, truthfully, can't answer it.
Well, that's something maybe you and I both have to. We got to find a way to get that information, because I can
do my research, and we can talk about that next Friday.
Okay, yeah, because I was just curious. I mean, there are so many tiny nations. Does everyone just get a chance to play basketball, or do they have to compete to have a certain winning percentage, or do they have to qualify somehow?
I know that the Dominican Republic didn't qualify. They lost. And they did, Calipari's team didn't qualify for the Olympics. They lost. So it's not every team. There's different regions for qualifying. I know that. It's that's what the tournament in Vegas was for a couple of weeks ago. It was basically so teams like the Dominican Republic could qualify, and they did not qualify. They lost.
And so the Dominican Republic would likely lose a game head-to-head with Nigeria.
I don't necessarily know that. I mean, most likely that doesn't mean they will. I don't think they would lose to Tunisia, but they were in a different qualifying. They were in a whole different set of qualifying matches. And they faced different teams.
Well, it's
so,
fascinating.
They have to go against the U.S.As and the Canadas and stuff.
As fascinating as Tunisia and Puerto Rico basketball are to me, let's I guess try to put the laser focus back on to Team USA. What has stood out for you? Has it been coaching? Has it been any player? And has it been teamwork, defense? Just watching the games, what are we supposed to take away from this year's version of the Dream Team?
I mean, they're a great team. It's almost like it's like watching an exhibition. It's like watching an All-Star game. Honestly, it's it's like a team of all. It's like watching the Harlem Globetrotters against the Washington Generals.
Right.
It's exactly what it's like. You have a team of all-stars going out there fooling around, just jacking up three-pointers the entire game and making them. It's like practice for them. It's honestly a joke. It's like if the best high school team in the nation went up against a middle school team, and blew them out. This is exactly what it's like. These guys are just out there having fun. Like I said, honestly, they really didn't even have any competition against Spain. Like I said earlier, I predicted that. I said originally USA would win gold and Argentina and Spain would be competing for the silver and the bronze. I still think that's how it goes. And like I said, the USA they struggled with Argentina a little bit late in the game. I think they just got sloppy originally. They won by 6, and then they wound up, after Gasol's comments, they wound up whooping Spain. And so, I don't. It's like I said, these guys, I think they're just out there having fun. They just want to play. They know they're better than anyone, and they can clobber any team they want.
Well, I've heard a discussion as well, And some people are saying, they shouldn't have professional athletes compete in the Olympics, that this is supposed to be an amateur competition, but I don't know how amateur it gets when China, or the United States for that matter, sends a 7-year-old girl away from her parents for 10 years to go compete in some sort of boot camp to be unleashed on the world. I mean, that seems very professional to me. Where do you stand?
That's what happens in Asia. What happens over there. I mean, the North Koreans do the same thing, I think it's completely unfair to just the child, but like I said, they do that. These countries really care about winning, medals in the Olympics. I mean, frankly, I think it's stupid to do that, but, and I think it's child abuse, actually, but
I couldn't argue that point.
They do it in foreign countries. They care a lot more about it than we do. So
I couldn't argue that point. Child abuse. I mean, and that's kind of like the collectivism versus the individual. This is, only 3 people stand up on, and stand up on the pedestal, and then they get their medal. It doesn't happen to everybody. This is about direct competition, and there are some countries that have communist ideas, that have communist government, that believe, what's good for the nation is good for everyone, so you don't have a say, and that is kind of weird. There have been a lot of subplots to this with, I'm sorry, I didn't even prep this story, but it was the girl from one of the Arabic countries, and she had to wear face covering and compete. I haven't really been watching too much. Are you familiar with that story?
Honestly, I'm a little frustrated with the IOC anyways, the International Olympic Committee. I'm not a huge fan. And like I said, I honestly, and it's also with the double tape delay out being in Los Angeles, having a Twitter account, I find out who wins, 6 hours before I watch the event.
That is ridiculous.
Like I said, I have not been watching a ton of the Olympics. I've been watching the basketball and some of the swimming events and, a little beach volleyball here and there. But, I haven't been watching much, to tell you the truth, because, like I said, I already know the winner for every single event. It's all my people on the East Coast are tweeting it about it, 3 hours earlier than I am. So what's the point of me even wasting my time to go watch it when I know Michael Phelps is going to win an event? I just don't see the point. I don't like watching stuff in tape delay to begin with.
Yeah, tape delay. I don't see, with all the channels that we have, why it couldn't be NBC Olympic channel, and it's just 24. I don't see why.
Channel 603 on DirecTV, NBC Sports. It's specifically NBC Sports, and all they're doing is showing Olympic coverage. I don't understand why they couldn't make that live.
I don't know why it can't be live either. You're telling me with thousands of channels, we can't have NBC fencing, NBC water polo, and just have a 50 block, roll out a special series, in the 1300 to 1400 range. These are all channels that are nothing but live Olympic coverage. This is 2012. I just find that really hard to believe, because watching stuff in tape delay after the fact, yeah, I mean, you already know what happened. There's no compelling storyline. But let me get back, because the question of pro versus amateur, you're seeing it with the United States Olympic team, and we've seen it since the Dream Team 20 years ago. But how do you feel about professionals competing in the Olympics? Should it be the best of the best in the entire world, or should it be the best amateur, however you can best define that?
I mean, they say it's supposed to be the best of the best. To win an Olympic gold medal, that means you're supposed to be the best at a certain sport. I think it should be the best. I don't see why it should be amateur. It's weird that some sports in the Olympics are amateur. Look at soccer. No professionals play. No professional soccer players play in the Olympics. That's a bunch of amateurs. Because they have the World Cup. Baseball used to be the same thing. Baseball used to go on during the season, and they used to bring a bunch of the AAA guys down there. That was how I still remember in 2000 when the United States baseball team won the gold. There were guys like Doug Minkiewicz from that team. And, most of those guys became really good MLB players for a couple of years. Minkiewicz had a couple of good years with the Twins, and, some of those other guys did, if you look at the 2000 Olympic team. And they were all amateurs too, but it's weird. Baseball and hockey are basically the only 2 non-amateur sports in the Olympics. Team sports.
Yeah, if I were good, why wouldn't I want to get an Olympic gold, but take the best against the best? If I'm a boxer and I'm the best in the world, I would love to say I went out and earned a gold medal. Nobody in the world could touch me that year. I mean, that's. Yeah. I don't know why that needs to be split up.
Also, just imagine the endorsement money. Just imagine the endorsement money. Look at Michael Phelps. Look what he makes a year. Just of endorsements, and this is an event. He does this every 4 years. This is where his bread and butter come from. From an event that takes place every 4 years. Nobody cares about swimming until it's in the Olympics. It's the same with gymnastics and ice skating. You know, nobody cares about these events until they're in the Olympics.
Well, did you see the story, too, about, you know, talking about going out there and getting endorsements and stuff? These people have to, because I was reading a story that says they have to pay $9,000 on a tax bill if they win a gold medal. That's how our tax system is set up. They have to pay $8,986 for gold, $5,300 for silver, and $3,500 for bronze. They got to go make money after this, or they're going to be in debt for serving the country. That's ridiculous.
I completely agree. It's nuts.
I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just shocking to me. Like, congratulations, you owe us this much money, and I don't know. I just find it kind of crazy, personally. We're talking with Zak Baris. We're going through the NBA happenings as it is right now, and all of the world's attention, for that matter, is focused on the Olympic Games and Team USA, who just routed Nigeria yesterday, and some people are saying that they were pouring it on a little bit. Want to thank our sponsor for this segment. It is 3 Black Cats. Take a look at the website. It's the number 3blackcats.storenvy.com. That's STORENVY.com. Support the new American media. Support our sponsors at the number 3blackcats.storenvy.com. Zach, we're continuing on here, moving past the Olympics, because, you know, a lot of teams had a lot of off-season moves, a lot of splashy moves, and then you still have Dwight Howard sitting down in Orlando. I mean, you know, there's not all that much going on. It's not as fast and crazy as it was during the initial free agency period, but kind of having a little bit of time and distance to put between ourselves and the NBA. What storylines are starting to emerge right now if they're not Olympic-related?
Well, it's all about cap room right now. They just came out. They just released all the cap figures for every team. No team more than the Suns and the Rockets had more than $3 million. Other than the Suns and the Rockets, they had about each $2.5 to $3 million in cap room. And you see the Cavs floating there with a $16 million cap number. You know, I thought that was you know, pretty funny when I saw when the cap numbers were released. You know, every team is either way above the cap, around the cap, and you just have the Cavs sitting there with a $43 million payroll. You know, for $40 million payroll, I'm sorry, and which is by far the lowest in the league. But, I mean, like I said, they're just shedding bad contracts at this point, and they're building the way they want to. And I think right now you have to be the envy of the league to have that much cap room. I'm not saying they're going to be a good team this year, but I'm saying they have a lot of cap room, which allows them, you know, to be flexible, take on contracts during the season, and add even more picks than they have now, or add a decent player during the season. I think that's big. They just added swingman C.J. Miles from the Utah Jazz, which I thought was a nice move. He had a decent season last year, just averaged under 10 a game, and the Cavaliers need a guy on the wing. So I think it was a nice fit for them.
Well, if the question comes back now, because, you know, we're watching the Cleveland Browns. They were just sold, and we if you feel like talking football, we can a little bit. But the point of that is that you know, the Browns were sold to a new owner, and then the question is, well, are they going to move the team? Are they going to spend the money necessary to stay competitive? And then the second question, as a Cleveland sports fan, comes up, well, when are they going to sell the Indians already to an owner that's going to allow them to compete?
I ask myself that every day. I just tweet. I've started to do the tweeting the what ifs. You know?
Do you know who Mike Polk? Do you know who Mike Polk Jr. is?
Yes. I saw the video the other day. I posted on my Facebook. I could not stop laughing.
And look around. That guy is funny through and through. His videos are hilarious. Some vulgar, but they're hilarious. And he's, for anyone that doesn't know, Mike Polk Jr., he's a Cleveland sports fan. You can look up Factory of Sadness on YouTube, which is awesome, where he's yelling at Cleveland Browns Stadium, or the Mike Polk Jr., What If, about the Cleveland Indians. And it's just, you know, you see these people, these owners come into town, and, you know, like Dan Gilbert. You and I have talked about Dan Gilbert being a very good owner, and we're going to swing right back around to it. But, you know, the question is, like, when are the Indians going to sell to someone that will make them competitive and spending what it takes to win, instead of being a farm system and not re-signing Cy Young winners like they were competitive in the 90s? When are they going to sell to someone like that? I would love for Gilbert or the new Browns owner to come in and buy the team.
Dan Gilbert, I can tell you right now, will not be buying the Cleveland Indians. He owns the casino, and I can tell you right now that would never be approved. getting overrun by the Indians. So that's not happening.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
He will not be approved. You're not allowed to. The gambling in the MLB will not mix. It won't happen. He would never be approved. Bud Selig wouldn't allow it.
But it does in basketball?
It would not be allowed. Basketball, don't forget, in basketball it's okay. Plus, he also owned the Cavaliers before he built the casino.
Huh.
I'm telling you, the new owner now in baseball, he would not be approved. There is a 100% guarantee that he would not be approved.
Interesting. Okay.
And, I honestly, the rumor, about Randy Lerner selling the team a couple months ago, that turned out to be true. Whenever you hear rumblings about that, and, it came from a credible source in Philadelphia radio a couple months ago, when they were talking about it, but you're just sitting there the Browns want to announce the team is actually not for sale, and all of a sudden it comes down, but like I said, is Jimmy Haslam could be a great owner for the Browns. I really hope he is, and I it just worries me because he's about to fire the entire front office again, and I don't want to start over again. This is enough. Yeah. Well, I think Heckert's done a nice job. I think honestly, if I were Haslam, I'd wait to see what happens with this year's draft class. I think they have a lot riding on it. You have your new starting quarterback, you have a new starting running back, a new starting right tackle, and a new starting wide receiver on the offensive end. I think if those four guys manage to pan out and look good, I think you're going to have a lot of problems justifying justifying a Tom Heckert, justifying firing Tom Heckert. I just don't see how you can do it at that point.
Well, and that's also, don't forget, that's also with a top 10 rated NFL defense to go along with it. Like, they've already built their defense into something solid. And I caught the press conference today, and Jimmy Haslam was really leaning on Mike Holmgren, who is essentially the top-ranking official in the organization. He bought Mike Holmgren. That is a guy whose resume says, I understand football. Hands down.
From what I understand, though, it sounds like he's going to wind up. I mean, don't forget, he's not allowed to make any personnel moves until October, until the sale becomes entirely official, until he takes total control of the team, which is in October. So he's not allowed to fire Holmgren for another couple months. I don't see him doing it in season. I think it'll be after season. But I'm not saying the Browns are going to win 10 games this year, but if they somehow reel off 9 or 10 wins, I think you'll have a lot of problems firing Heckert. The Holmgren one can be justifiable if you bring in Joe Banner, who is president of the Eagles. I could see that one happening. I mean, it's going to happen. But, I don't want to see Tom Heckert gone. I like what he's done in Cleveland so far. The lack of free agency moves has upset me, but
there's a time and a place for every team. There's a time to.
Yeah, but like I said, it's like the Cavs are waiting too. They want to. There's no reason to go out there and add, a 32-year-old free agent to go try to help a 4-win football team. There's no reason to do it.
Absolutely.
So I think that's why they're waiting. And eventually, I'd like to see them spend some money in free agency. It'd be nice to go out there and get a couple of guys. But like you said, it's different in the NBA. And all other sports, free agency is different than the NFL. The NFL, you can bring in a lot of top-notch free agent superstars. Look what the Philadelphia Eagles did last year, and look where it got them. It got them to 7 wins.
Yeah, it's a team sport. You really need chemistry and sync if you want to get things done. What Jimmy Haslam was saying was that in his time that he spent in Pittsburgh, because he was obviously the minority shareholder as a Pittsburgh Steeler ownership group, he said that he learned that drafting is the number one most important thing you can do, because every number one draft pick you take doesn't just need to play for your team. They need to be an anchor. They need to be an all-pro. And I liked what he was saying there, because that's how the Steelers build. They get the right character guys. They get the right intensity. They just know how to draft. And that's what he said about Heckert and Holmgren, was that they've had quite a few good drafts in a row, and the consensus, he said, I'm not going to be an expert. I've only been here for 5 days or something like that. He said, but the consensus is that this Cleveland Browns team is moving in the right direction now under the 2 years of their leadership, finally. He said, and I'm not interested in hurrying up and making a decision or changing things. It seems like we're going in the right direction. So do you think he's...
Yeah, and I think they'll see him make his decision after the year. I don't like personnel moves being made during the season. I don't think it helps, and I don't think it gets you anywhere. So, like I said, hopefully he waits till after season, but I like him already. I like that he's fiery, he's coming out there, he's answering questions. We knew nothing about Randy Lerner except what was said about him behind the scenes. I mean, the guy never publicly ever talked.
Yeah, that was weird.
I don't ever remember him having a press conference. I mean, it was frustrating. It's like an owner doesn't care. And, like I said, it really frustrated me. And I wish I could have I wish we could have seen more Randy Lerner. Like he says, Randy spent the money, but I also don't think he was there. Jimmy Haslam already seems to be hands-on. He's out there at practice every day now. I like that. I really do like that with him. And I really hope, obviously, as long as he doesn't move the team, how can he be a worse owner than Randy Lerner?
That would be
the
hard.
Lerner family. We've had one playoff season now in 13 years of football. It can't get any worse than that as long as the team's in Cleveland. I think it was time for a change. Hopefully they can, start winning some games and, can be a turnaround for them. I really think it's a good move. And like you said as earlier, when will they sell the Indians? We've got 2 down, 1 to go. If
Nice.
if you look at the ownership in this city a few years ago, Gordon Gund on the Cavs, the Dolans on the Indians, and Liv Lerner on the Browns. We have 3 of the worst owners in sports.
Wow, that's the Indians collapse is something our next guest, Dan Zaleski, he runs Cleveland Sports Radio, fan radio, and we're going to be talking about the Indians collapse. It's been astonishing. I mean, competing and playing such hard-nosed ball, flashes of brilliance, and just a complete collapse over the past 2 weeks. It's really been embarrassing watching the Indians.
I stopped watching. I'm so frustrated with this team every year.
No offense.
The funny thing is, other than Ubaldo Jimenez and Shapiro's, basically 11 years as head of the front office, as GM and president, our biggest trade deadline trade has been Kenny Lofton. 36 or 37-year-old Kenny Lofton was his biggest move since he's been here. So I think that's the most frustrating thing about it is every year, calls were made, we made calls, obviously the trade wasn't there.
We made calls.
You see the White Sox going and getting Kevin Youkilis, Francisco Liriano, Brett Myers, and they didn't give up anything. They gave up barely anything. They didn't give up any top prospects. And, it's frustrating to see because it's just like they don't care. It's, they're always all talk and they don't do anything, what if we didn't have those stupid what if commercials, for our team? Why don't you just, what if the Indians went out there, spent money in free agency, developed the farm system, and spend time developing their own players? Every single one of the Indians' good players that they've had over the years have come from another organization in a trade.
Well, that's how the Indians used to do it. They used to have the best farm system around, and then
that's when Shapiro was running the farm system back in the day.
What is the Peter principle? You get promoted to your point of incompetence, and then you reside there and you suck at your job for a long time?
I don't think he sucks. I think he's done as well as he can with a limited budget. Granted, they've had years where they should be better, and in 2008, I think they sold off too quickly. They wound up finishing the year at around, I think, over 500 in 2008, and they had a fire sale. Imagine if they kept Sabathia and everything. They could have wound up making the playoffs. They went on a huge run to end the year, and they were playing really good baseball. It's just, and then this year, I was just, it's like they're in purgatory. The Indians are basically in purgatory right now.
Oh, they're the Atlanta Hawks of the baseball world.
Yeah. They're not, well, no, at least the Atlanta Hawks make the playoffs every year.
Okay.
We're not the Atlanta Hawks of the playoffs. Right now, we're the Houston Rockets of Major League Baseball. Sitting at their 500 borderline 8th seed every year. They're not going anywhere. It's like, either go off and sell the guys, get rid of them, or go out there and try to make a trade. You're sitting there 4.5 games back at the time. Go out there and make a trade and improve the roster and try to win the division. No, they don't go and do either. That's what's so frustrating. At least try to get some prospects in there. And then finally, it's been a long time coming now. Derek Lowe's been horrible lately. Johnny Damon, I never understood that signing to begin with. This team could have gone a completely different direction if they not re-signed Grady Sizemore and spent the money on Josh Willingham or Jason Kubel or Carlos Beltran. They could have had 3 really productive hitters who are all having fantastic seasons. And especially Willingham and Kubel are bargain prices. Kubel's making just over $7 a year, and same with Willingham. So, those guys, and it's cheaper than Sizemore, and Sizemore hasn't even played in the game this season. I don't know why you spent $8 million on a guy last year that was not, had he played a whole year, would have struck out almost 300 times.
Well, let me tell you this.
He's not the same player he was.
No. The injuries definitely got to Sizemore. And let me tell you this, Zach. I don't know if I've told you this before. We have been talking for probably about a year now over here at the NewAmericanMedia.com. I suppose we should have a birthday cake at one of these interviews. We'll figure that out later. But or maybe a beer. But I actually called the Cleveland Indians front office after they got rid of back-to-back Cy Young winners with CC Sabathia and Cliff Lee. I called their front office. I called the office of the president, and I left them a very specific voicemail about what I thought. Because that's disgusting. During the 90s, the thing we needed was an ace on our staff. Man, if we just had one ace on our staff. Nagy was always good. You can pick and choose. But, I mean, an ace. And we had back-to-back Cy Young winners to anchor a rotation, and we gave them away 2 years in a row. Couple of draft picks, whatever. A couple of players traded over, but nowhere near the value that we gave up with back-to-back Cy Young winners. I can't believe it.
We don't even have any our most productive player from both of those trades is Michael Brantley and Lou Marson.
Wow. What a deal.
A backup catcher and a decent left fielder.
Wow.
Laporta's sitting in AAA. Rob Bryson never developed. I mean, look at all the guys we got in the Cliff Lee trade. The only one who's been productive is Lou Marson. He's a backup catcher.
Yeah.
We created a Cy Young Award winner essentially for a backup catcher. Matt Laporta didn't pan out in the CC Sabathia trade. We essentially didn't get anything. The Indians, there were two horrible trades. I'm very happy. I mean, Ubaldo trade, I'm glad they went out there and made a move last year. They went out and got Ubaldo. Luckily, Alex White has been terrible, and Pomeranz has been terrible too.
Luckily, I know. We say luckily. We don't wish them ill, but we just don't want to know that we gave up a superstar for nothing. We would hate to see that. I know what you're saying.
Alex White was a jerk. When he was traded, he was a jerk. He was a complete jerk about it when he got traded. Most players just have nice things to say about their old organization. I mean, this guy just tore into Cleveland. It's not the fans' fault. The general manager traded him away. He just tore into Cleveland. It was just, whatever. We didn't need the guy. He stinks anyways. His ERA has been over 7 for the majority of this year, over 6. While he was in the starting rotation, he was terrible. And he also said, too, I mean, I wasn't upset the Indians traded him. It was Pomeranz I was a little worried about. I thought he could be the next Cliff Lee, but I don't see that happening in Denver, at least.
Not this year.
Maybe the next Jeff Francis, but that's nothing to write home about. But the Indians, like I said, they're very frustrating. They're just a point where I just stopped watching them, And I remember a couple of years ago, my friend Steve and I, we had season tickets to the Indians. Whenever I would come over the summer, we'd either get a 20 or 40 game package for the Indians. And that's all we do in the summertime. We used to go to games. We used to go to 20 to 40 games, especially this is even before college. We would get the 40 game package and go to games all the time. And in the summertime, we get the 20 games. I remember we canceled. We're just like, they stink. We canceled after the 2008 season. And the Indians tried to get us to renew, and they said, "Why wouldn't you renew your seats?" And we said, "Why would we? You're not putting a good product on the field. Why do we want to waste our hard-earned money? We're college kids." We have decent seats.
And how about this?
We have good seats for the game in the lower deck.
How about I like to go spend my time places that make me feel good. This doesn't make me feel good. This makes me angry. Like you're supposed to.
And when you're.
It's another one of those Mike Polk videos I quoted on the last segment that I did with Brandon on Strictly Browns when we talked about the Browns for a little bit. There's a lot of important, really disturbing, distressing financial, economic, political, socioeconomic. You look all across the globe, there's a lot of important stuff to spend our time focused on. And when I watch sports, I want to watch a good product that makes me feel good. I want to smile. I want to puff my chest out with just a slight bit of, hey, that's where I'm from. Isn't it nice that we're winners where I'm from? And you're supposed to feel good. It's supposed to make you feel good. I don't know why anyone would go consistently consume a terrible product like we've had to in Cleveland for so many years.
Exactly. I mean, Chris Perez, like I said, wonders why the attendance is down. Why would fans want to go to games? Yeah, because they're playing, 5 games above 500 baseball at the beginning of the season. They did this last year where they dominated the first couple of weeks of the season. And then they play under 500 baseball the rest of the year. They're not fun to watch. They don't score a lot of runs. The starting pitching is not very good. Now Chris Perez, I think, finally understands why we don't care about baseball in Cleveland anymore, because we have an owner that doesn't care. If you have an owner that doesn't care, why would the fans care?
And let me that's interesting you phrase it that way. We're talking with Zak Baris. It's interesting you phrase it that way because I'm out here in Los Angeles, much like you, with Cleveland roots, but around this neighborhood there's a lot of condominium buildings. And we're in the middle of a project painting, I think, 4 or 5 buildings. And it's one of those, like, if the management of the buildings acts like they don't care about the property, then the people living there act like they're not supposed to care either. And then when you paint a building, when you repair broken stuff, you fix a broken window, you water some burnt out grass, whatever the situation is, it's almost like people can actually step back and say, "Hey, this is mine. This is where I live. Yeah, I'm actually proud to be here. Look at this. Look." And then maybe they won't throw their trash on the ground. Maybe they'll actually pick up someone else's trash. Maybe you'll go to more games and feel good at the end of a long week, as opposed to what? Getting kicked in the stomach repeatedly as an Indians fan, trading two Cy Young winners back to back.
Exactly. It's like the Cavaliers aren't putting a winning product on the court right now. But, I mean, you can't expect them to after losing their superstar, and Cleveland's not a city where it's easy to attract free agents to. So that's why, that's exactly why, the fans haven't given up, because you still have an owner that cares and is willing to do anything to win.
Right.
And I think it's the same with Jimmy Haslam now, too, with the Browns. I mean, like I said, is Randy Lerner spent the money with the Browns? There was no question of that.
He did spend.
People question his love for the Browns, his passion for the Browns. I don't think he ever had it. I think he cares more about his soccer team over in Europe than he does the Cleveland Browns. It's clear. I mean, he got rid of the Browns. He's not selling a soccer team. And like you said, he used to go to all the games, and you rarely see him at Brown games, if ever.
You saw Lerner. You would see Lerner at a Browns game as much as you would see Art Modell.
Yeah.
I mean, Art Modell post-exile, like where he wasn't allowed back in the city.
I don't miss the Lerner family. I mean, don't forget, Al Lerner's the one who orchestrated the move to Baltimore.
Yep, thanks for nothing.
Art Modell refused to sell him the team in the mid-'90s. So he orchestrated the move. I mean, he had a whole plan, what he knew he was going to do. He was going to outbid everyone in 1996. As soon as, the NFL put there's a 31st team up for sale, and the cities that we're going to get were either Cleveland, Houston, or Los Angeles, and he knew he was going to outbid Bob McNair, over in Houston for the team. And LA put together one of their lame ownership groups like they always try to do to get a team. And Al Lerner had more money. Al Lerner was worth over $4 billion at the time, owning MBNA and Visa. So obviously he went there and he made his move, and he knew he was going to get the Browns. That was his ultimate goal all along, was to get the Browns, have a new stadium, and it worked for him. But, like I said, they never put a winning product on the field. He died 3 years into the ownership, in the middle of 2002. And, it was over from there.
And they doubled their money on their investment, sold it for over $1 billion to Jimmy Haslam. You bring up a good point, and I think we'll probably wrap it up on this one because, yeah, I mean, obviously the Lerner family did play a role behind the scenes that caused us all of this heartache and all of this headache and all of just the disaster of moving the Browns to Baltimore only to put field a lousy product for the past 13 years. In a way, this is a cleansing of karma. This is a ashes to ashes, dust to dust kind of moment where, you know what? Just get out. Now there's a new energy here.
Don't forget, Art Modell signed his contract with the state of Maryland on Al Lerner's private jet. So, I mean, like I said, as the Lerner family, honestly, I'm glad he does not own the team anymore. I'm glad it's over.
Although the new owner is a 1,000% Pittsburgh fan.
You know what? In his press conference, he referred to him as that other team, which I like.
I do too.
I just want someone who's committed to winning. That's all I care about.
Absolutely.
Listen, Dan Gilbert's a born and bred Detroit fan. I don't care. He's committed to winning with the Cavs. You know that. He cares about the Cavaliers. You don't see him rooting for the Pistons. This is a guy who just wants to win. He always wanted to own a sports team. There's a passion of his. And like I said, he moved a lot of jobs over to Cleveland. He's brought in, he moved a lot of his Quicken Loans jobs over to Cleveland. Obviously, Jimmy Haslam's not doing that with,
They asked him today. Yeah, they asked him that question at the press conference.
I mean, you never know. It could always change. If he starts, in the city of Cleveland, if he can develop stuff around the city of Cleveland, like Gilbert, he's a total businessman. Maybe he'll do it. Cleveland's a much bigger city than Knoxville. It's much more relevant.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's 3 professional sports teams. I just hope they don't change the name to Pilot J Stadium.
Well, I just want to win. Call it whatever you want. I watch basketball enough times. I've laughed at a lot of funny stadium names. I just want a championship trophy. I don't care what you call it. Although I'm not a big fan of progressive with the Indians, but
I'm not either. I miss Jacob Steele, but
it's the Jake.
Like I said earlier, I think the Dolans put themselves in an even worse situation on the Indians. You have to be hurting at this move because you have another owner that's going in there and talking about, that he cares. All he wants to do is win. He's willing to spend whatever it takes. And you now have one ownership group in Cleveland that just doesn't seem to care, and they don't understand why their fans have, why their fans don't come out. And I remember someone said the other day on Twitter, I forgot who it was, said the Knicks, they believe, I go, the Dolans are the worst owner in sports. Someone tweeted back. They're like, well, then I believe the Knicks fans have had it worse than the Cavs. And I was like, worse than the Indians. I go, have the Knicks made the playoffs more times in the last, 11 years than the Indians have? We made it once since 2001. And granted, the Knicks have been terrible, and like I said, the Dolans own the Knicks too. That family just shouldn't be owning sports teams. They're terrible.
No, and someone needs to make them an offer they can't refuse. No, I mean that literally, like a big number.
If this was basketball, I would never know. I could be working for that owner. I would, like I said, I have no problem. I know I'm not going to be working for the New York Knicks. So obviously, I'm not working for the New York Knicks in this situation. So I can say something about the Dolans, but you won't hear me insult any other ownership group in the NBA. I'm not a fan of the Dolans. They know that. You can look on my Twitter. Like I said, I don't like the way they run their team. Like I said, an owner should only be hands-on so much with his team. You have to let a person with a basketball background take control of a team, and it's frustrating when you're sitting there watching an owner of a team who's just sitting there as a fan going, I could have Carmelo Anthony, I can have Tyson Chandler. He doesn't look at the big picture. He should have gone after Darren Williams. The Dolans should have. But he looked at it more as a fan, on paper type of thing, rather than looking at a smart basketball move, what to do.
Well, in a way.
And that doesn't factor into winning when you have an owner that does that.
In a way, a lot of
completely out of it with the Indians, but like I said, they don't spend a lot of money, and you have a lot of problems, bringing premier talent when you don't spend money.
Well, if you think about it, Zach, a lot of owners of professional sports teams, it's an ego thing. It's a very big ego thing. They get to play chess with humans. They get to play chess with humans. I mean, think about that. You want to think about, this ultra elite, the men behind the scenes, the 1% that have $1 billion to go buy a team. They're playing chess with human beings. I mean, that's got to be kind of cool if you think about it. As a sports fan, I would love to own a team and hire the right coaches and, get some feedback on draft picks and figure out which type of offense we want to run. It would be so much fun, but there's a lot of ego that comes with that when you reach that point. And I know the city of Los Angeles, where we're at right now, as Cleveland fans, we're out here in L.A., and, there's a big ego in Los Angeles and California in general saying, there's basically a stadium deal in place. I think they want to get 2 NFL teams, either through expansion or relocation. And so
the thing is, they don't even have one, though. They go for 1 before you go for 2. This is a city that hasn't had football since 1995, I believe, maybe even earlier. I think it was even earlier than that. But maybe 96. I don't know. They haven't had a team. We haven't had a team in a long time in LA. It's been 15 years at least. And, they're going, we don't only want 1, but we want 2 teams here. Be happy with 1. The city couldn't support 2 teams before when they had 2 back in the 90s. The LA Rams moved to St. Louis, and the LA Raiders moved back to Oakland. They couldn't support 2 in the first place. I don't know if they could again.
Well, they're going to try. And when the team was sold, we asked the question last week, could the Browns be moving to Los Angeles? And someone replied, no, you idiot, it's in the contract. I'm like, look, it's whatever contract has kind of been approved. It hasn't been approved by the league, so it's not official. And a week ago, we just found out that they were talking. We had nothing in writing. And my question is this. Whatever agreement that they have between Jimmy Haslam and Randy Lerner to not move the team out of Cleveland, could it be a Jerry Maguire moment where he says, my word is strong as oak, we're not moving the team, and then of course they move the team?
I don't see Jimmy Haslam as being a lifelong Red Steelers fan. Don't forget that Dan Rooney last time was the only, and Ralph Wilson were the only 2 owners that didn't approve the move over to Baltimore. There's no way he would break up a rivalry like that. I don't think Jimmy Haslam's going to move the Browns. It's not like he's a Southern Californian born and raised that bought a football team and owned a team, and then there's a fear of moving to Los Angeles. he's not an LA type of guy to begin with. So
no, he's not.
Like I said, I don't see LA being able to even get one team at this point because, like I said, Con already said he's not moving the Jaguars. Haslam's not moving the Browns. I can promise you that won't happen. You know, the Browns have a 14-year-old stadium in place and a contract that goes up to 2029. It's not happening.
You got the Bills, the Vikings, the Rams. There is a list.
I think the Vikings. I don't know what's going on in the Vikings' new stadium, but I don't know if it got approved or not. I don't remember if it ever did.
It was up and down, then up and down, then up and down, and I lost track.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think the most likely teams to come. I think the most likely team to come are the St. Louis Rams. Because Kroenke he lives in L.A. You know, he has tons of property out in L.A. He's an L.A. businessman. It would not shock me one bit if they moved back to L.A. You know, they're having problems right now at the city of St. Louis to renovate the Edward Jones Dome. They're having a lot of problems with that right now. I could easily see that one happening. I don't see the Vikings coming out here, though, and sharing a city with the L.A. Rams. They wouldn't do that.
The Minnesota Lakers came out here a while ago. Now they're the L.A. Lakers, land of 1,000 lakes, or 10,000 lakes.
Yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago, though. But like I said, I think if the Vikings would come, they will be a one single team here. If the LA Rams will come, it'll be the Rams and the Raiders. I could easily see that happening. You know, but like I said, those are the two most. I mean, it'd be shocking to see that. Well, I almost think it'd be funny to see, you know, the LA Rams and the LA Raiders leave for 15 to 20 years and then come back. You know, it'd be pretty funny to see that actually.
Well, you're right that it is complicated, and you know, we raised the question last week, we raised it again this week, and we're going to keep talking about it because until we know the terms, you know, it's hard to believe that anything is out of the realm of possibility when you watched your Cleveland Browns get moved before. It's happened to us before.
Now, I'm not worried about it one bit. Like I said, I'd be worried if Jimmy Haslam was from L.A. or from California. I'd be a little more worried. But this is a guy who understands the rivalry with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He understands everything. Why leave a city that's been, you know, don't forget that the Cleveland Browns have been making a lot of money every year for the past 13 years. They put on one winning product they sell out every game. They're one of the few cities that sells out every game when the team stinks. Why leave that? If the team's making a lot of money, just imagine what it's going to be like. You know, if they reel up a couple 3 playoff seasons in a row, do you realize how hard it will be to get tickets again to the Cleveland Browns?
Oh, I can't wait.
I mean, that's why. That's exactly why it's not going to happen.
Can't wait to see that, Zach. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'll tell you what, maybe let's catch up in a week or so, and we'll talk some more about the Olympics and see where this move is gone. Zach, follow Zach, by the way, on Twitter. He's at Z Baris. That's ZBARIS. Thank you again for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, Zach's always a good conversation. I always forget how much of a Cleveland sports fan he is across the board. We'll be right back. This is Brian, and you're listening to... What are you listening to? Well, I'll have this little robot lady explain it.
You were listening to The Unhappy Hour Sports Radio Show on the NewAmericanMedia.com.
That was a robot guy.
Follow the NewAmericanMedia.com on Twitter at American_media_.
And there was the girl. You guys got out of order. This is the New American Media. Agree to disagree. Yeah, it's a radio show we have on thenewamericanmedia.com every single Friday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Join the show. What do we talk about? Politics, religion, and spirituality. Basically anything you're not supposed to talk about in a bar. You're not supposed to have these conversations inside of a bar, but we have them every single Friday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific on thenewamericanmedia.com. Join the show, offer your opinion, and let's agree to disagree, but let's have a good conversation.
Have you ever considered adopting a pet to be part of your family? Our animal companions can be just as close to us as our human companions. If you're considering adoption, please visit your local shelter and adopt a pet today. Shelter pets make the best pets.
Hi, Brian from thenewamericanmedia.com. Last year I had this idea. I wanted to start a website of my own, not just something, a presence on Twitter, a presence on Facebook, and have a thing. I wanted a website. I wanted a home base for all of the ideas and things I'm interested in. I wanted live radio. I wanted to communicate with the globe. I was tired of being spoon-fed dogma by corporate interest and just, here, believe this, believe this. I said, no, I think there's something underneath the surface, but I didn't know how to do it. So I contacted Ted Distel of disteldesign.com. Ted walked us through the process of, okay, you want videos, you want to do quotes of the day, you want to have a spiritual section, you want to have a 1984 watch where government's intruding and private corporations are intruding into your privacy. Yeah, those are the things that I was interested in. Ted walked me through the process. We built thenewamericanmedia.com, and I encourage you to go online and take a look at our site. That's what he's capable of. Please, if you have an idea, go to disteldesign.com. That's DISTEL design.com. TNAM Radio, because the news always matters. Hi, Brian from thenewamericanmedia.com. You know, this housing crisis that we've been in for a few years now has really taken a toll on a lot of families. I know somebody you've worked with, somebody that you're related to, maybe even yourself. You might have gone through some sort of foreclosure, short sale, deed in lieu of foreclosure, or any other nonsense going on in the financial markets tied to housing. One of the things that is not talked about enough is the fact that a lot of people have to get rid of their homes right now and go into some sort of apartment-style living. And in that situation, many people can't bring their cat or dog, their friend, their companion, a member of their family. Imagine your dog, imagine your cat, dropped off at a shelter. Oh, it's a shelter. They'll be safe. No, the shelters just don't have the resources capable to take care of these animals, and thousands of them are put to death every single week. Please, if you have the opportunity, go become a foster parent at a shelter. Go to your local shelter, adopt a dog or cat. Trust me, a family out there is going to really appreciate the effort. If you're tired of the other stuff, take a look at thenewamericanmedia.com. Be sure that you go on to facebook.com and do a quick search for The New American Media and like our page, because we like it when you do that.
It's Friday, and you know what that means. It's time for the Unhappy Hour live sports radio show on thenewamericanmedia.com. Here is your host, Brian Engelman.